Have you ever wondered why our planet is getting hotter each year? It's a question that has been on the minds of many, and today, we're going to dive into the heart of this issue. Welcome to the world of global warming, a phenomenon that's causing a steady increase in the Earth's average temperature. Now, you might be thinking, isn't the Earth supposed to be warm? Isn't that why we have life on this planet in the first place? Absolutely, you're right. But here's the catch. The problem isn't that the Earth is warm, but rather, it's getting too warm, too fast. That's where global warming comes into play. So what's causing this rapid rise in temperature? The answer is, quite simply, us. Human activities are the main culprits behind global warming. Let's break it down a bit further. First off, we have the burning of fossil fuels. This includes coal, oil, and natural gas, which we use for everything from driving our cars to powering our homes. When we burn these fuels, they release a lot of carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas that traps heat in the Earth's atmosphere. Next on the list is deforestation. Trees absorb carbon dioxide, so when we cut them down, we're not only losing a valuable ally in the fight against global warming, but we're also releasing more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Finally, there's industrialization. As we build more factories and produce more goods, we're also producing more greenhouse gases. These gases, just like carbon dioxide, trap heat in our atmosphere, contributing to the warming of our planet. So, you see, it's a cycle. We burn fossil fuels, cut down trees, and build more factories, which leads to more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which then leads to a hotter planet. It's a vicious circle, and we're at the center of it. So, in a nutshell, our very own actions are causing the planet to heat up. And unless we do something about it, this cycle will continue, pushing our planet further and further into the danger zone. But don't worry, there's hope. Stay tuned to find out how we can turn things around. You might be curious, how do our actions result in a warmer planet? Well, to understand that, we need to dive into the crux of the issue, the greenhouse effect. Picture this, a greenhouse, a structure primarily made of glass where plants grow. It's warm inside because sunlight enters and gets trapped, providing a cozy environment for the plants. Now the Earth, in a way, is like a massive greenhouse. The sun's rays penetrate our atmosphere, warming the planet. Some of that heat escapes back into space, but not all of it. Certain gases in our atmosphere, aptly named greenhouse gases, act like a blanket, trapping a portion of this heat and preventing it from escaping. Greenhouse gases include carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, among others. Each plays a role in warming our planet, but let's focus on the two major culprits, carbon dioxide and methane. Carbon dioxide is primarily released through the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas, while methane slips into the atmosphere during the production and transport of coal, oil, and natural gas. It's also emitted by livestock and other agricultural practices. These gases, once in the atmosphere, can stay there for years, even centuries. They trap heat much more effectively than other gases, amplifying the Earth's natural greenhouse effect. As we pump more and more of these gases into the atmosphere, we're essentially thickening that blanket. This trapped heat doesn't just vanish, it's absorbed by the land, the oceans, and the atmosphere, leading to a rise in the average global temperature. And this, my friends, is what we call global warming. Now you might think a little extra warmth, that can't be so bad, right? Unfortunately, it's not that simple. This increase in temperature is causing drastic changes in our climate, with impacts that are far-reaching and potentially catastrophic. It's a vicious cycle. More greenhouse gases mean more heat trapped, leading to even more global warming. And unless we take significant action to reduce these emissions, this cycle will continue and our planet will keep getting warmer. What happens when the Earth gets too hot? What are we in for? As the Earth warms, we're seeing changes that go far beyond just hotter summers. One of the more visible consequences of global warming is the rise in sea levels. This isn't just due to the melting of the polar ice caps and glaciers, but also because warmer water expands. As a result, coastal areas across the globe are at risk of flooding, and island nations could even be submerged entirely. Next on the list, let's talk about those melting polar ice caps and glaciers. They're not just raising sea levels, they're also impacting the habitats of polar animals like the polar bear and the emperor penguin. If this continues, we could see these species and more go extinct within our lifetimes. On top of that, global warming is leading to an increased frequency of extreme weather events. We're talking about more intense hurricanes, more severe droughts, and heavier rainfall causing floods. These events can not only cause significant damage to our homes and infrastructure, but they can also result in loss of life. And it's not just human life that's at risk. Global warming poses a serious threat to biodiversity. As habitats change and shift due to rising temperatures, many species are finding it harder to survive. Some are being forced to migrate, while others are seeing their food sources disappear. If we don't act, we could be facing the loss of a large portion of the Earth's biodiversity. It's also worth mentioning that these changes can have a domino effect. For example, the loss of certain species can impact the food chain, potentially leading to even more loss of biodiversity. Similarly, the destruction caused by severe weather events can lead to displacement of people, exacerbating issues like poverty and social inequality. In short, the consequences of global warming are far-reaching and potentially devastating. They're not just problems for future generations to deal with, they're happening right now, and they're affecting all of us, in every corner of the globe. Global warming thus poses a serious threat to life as we know it. Are we doomed, or can we reverse the damage? Let's dive into the solutions that can potentially turn the tide against global warming. The first step to reversing the damage is by harnessing renewable energy. This involves shifting from fossil fuels like coal and gas to renewable sources like solar, wind, and hydroelectric power. These sources are not only abundant and sustainable, but they also emit little to no greenhouse gases, reducing our carbon footprint. Next on the list is reforestation, a natural way to combat global warming. Trees are nature's own carbon sinks, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and storing it in their biomass. By planting more trees and preserving existing forests, we can significantly lower the levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, hence putting a brake on global warming. Reducing waste is another solution that can't be overlooked. A large portion of our waste ends up in landfills where it decomposes and releases methane, a potent greenhouse gas. By recycling, composting, and reducing our overall consumption, we can minimize the amount of waste that ends up in landfills and, in turn, reduce methane emissions. Sustainable practices are also key in battling global warming. This involves making changes in various sectors, from agriculture to industry, to ensure that they are not depleting resources or polluting the environment. It also involves adopting sustainable habits in our daily lives, like using public transport, eating less meat, and conserving energy. Of course, individual actions can only go so far. Government policies play a critical role in driving these solutions. This could mean implementing regulations to limit emissions, investing in renewable energy, and promoting sustainable practices. It could also involve international cooperation, because global warming is a global problem that requires a global solution. In conclusion, we do have the power to curb global warming. The solutions are within our reach, we just need the will to implement them. As they say, necessity is the mother of invention, and there's no greater necessity than preserving our planet. The power to curb global warming lies in our hands. We can either be the cause or the solution. So, how can you contribute to the fight against global warming? It's a question we all need to ask ourselves. And the good news is, there are plenty of ways you can make a difference. First, let's talk about adopting eco-friendly practices. This might sound daunting, but it's actually quite simple. It's about making small changes in our day-to-day lives. Start by reducing, reusing, and recycling. Cut down on your use of plastic. Switch off lights when they're not in use. Take the bus, bike, or walk instead of driving. These are small steps, but when millions of us take them, they add up to a big difference. Next, let's think about energy. We all need it, but we can choose where we get it from. Supporting renewable energy is a powerful way to combat global warming. Consider switching to a green energy supplier, or even installing solar panels at home. And it's not just about electricity. Using energy-efficient appliances and insulating your home can also reduce your carbon footprint. And finally, let's talk about advocacy. This is about using our voices to demand change. We can support policies that mitigate global warming. We can vote for leaders who prioritize the environment. We can join protests, sign petitions, or write to our representatives. And we can spread the word, educating others about the urgency of the situation. The reality is, global warming is not a distant threat. It's here, it's now, and it's urgent. We don't have the luxury of time. We need to act, and we need to act now. We all have a role to play in this fight. Whether you're a student, a teacher, a parent, a business owner, or a retiree, you can make a difference. You have the power to help shape the future of our planet. And that's an incredibly empowering thought. Each of us has a role to play in combating global warming. Remember, the future of our planet is in our hands. Let's use those hands to build a sustainable and thriving world for the generations to come.